We're going to continue on with cosine law. In this case, in this example rather, we've got an acute triangle, and the triangle is we're told that the triangle is labeled as H, W, N. Okay, and we're also told that the length of side H, so side H is over here, is 1.4 kilometers. The length of side W is, this is W, so 1.7. W is across from angle W. And side N, which is across from angle N, N happens to be 1.2 kilometers. Okay. Now again, we talked earlier about how some people might not necessarily be comfortable using H, W, and N because all of our formulas are in A, B, and C. So if you would like to, you're obviously welcome to rename this. So if you would prefer, we can change this to A, B, C. That makes this A, this becomes C, and this becomes B. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. You are welcome to change the name so long as you correctly label the three angles and their corresponding side lengths. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so find the measure of the nearest angle, or of the indicated angle to the nearest degree. So in this particular instance, let's say that we are trying to figure out the length of this angle. So that angle was originally labeled as N, but we've changed the name and now it's called C. So we're going to try and figure out angle C. So to do that, we need to use the appropriate formula. So in this case, we're using cos C is equal to A squared plus B squared minus C squared all over 2 times A times B. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to substitute in the values that we have. We know that we've got cos C is equal to A squared. Well, A is 1.4 squared, or A is 1.4, and that number is being squared. B is equal to 1.7, and that number is being squared. And we're subtracting C, which is 1.2, which is also being squared. And that's being divided by 2 times A, which is 1.4, times B, which is 1.7. So now we're going to go through and we're going to simplify this. We're going to figure out what the top is equal to, and we're also going to figure out what the bottom is equal to. So cos C is going to equal 1.4 squared, which is 1.96, plus 1.7 squared, which is 2.89, minus 1.2 squared, which is 1.44, and that is all being divided by 2 times 1.4 times 1.7, which equals 4.76. Okay, so we're going to clean this up a little further. We've got cos C, and now we're going to simplify the top of this fraction here. So we're going to do 1.96 plus 2.89 minus 1.44, and that's going to give us 3.41 over 4.76. We can actually simplify that last piece even more. So we've got cos C is equal to 3.41 divided by 4.76, and that's going to equal approximately 0.7164. Okay, so now what we need to do is we have to get that C value all by itself, and that C value is being multiplied, or is being subject to the cos function. So the opposite of the cos function is using cos inverse. So if we use cos inverse on the left-hand side of the equation, we also have to use cos inverse on the right-hand side of the equation. So cos inverse and cos are going to cancel each other out. So we're just left with C, and cos inverse of 0.7164 is equal to approximately 44 degrees. Okay, so angle C then is going to equal 44 degrees.